Welcome to the College Admission TV Higher Education Leadership Podcast. We sit down with passionate leaders in education for their thoughts and insights in today's world. We are excited to have as our guest Diane Kanney, Director, Regional Campus Recruitment Strategies and Initiatives of The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio.
You know, as far as items you're going to put in your office, what's like the coolest item? You know what I mean? Like, and maybe you already have it. I see something up there on top of the cabinet. And again, I don't know, but you tell me.
Well, I think, things that are near and dear to me, Brad, are obviously I have my diplomas back here, but I have something at home that has been a part of my offices for a long time, and it is a diversity statement about what we believe in and such. And I want to have that over here, and honestly, I think that will show really well when I'm online. And then I have another one over here. It's funny, you're probably thinking, oh, she's going to say all kinds of Ohio State stuff, but I have another picture because I've got plenty of Ohio State stuff in here. I've got a rug you can't see, but the other framed piece of art that I want to hang is it's a person sliding into. It's a Successory. Do you know that company, the Successory?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a female softball player sliding into second base or whatever, and it says something about taking risk, and you can't steal second base with your foot on first. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to have that in here as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, if we could talk about diversity for a minute, and we'll just jump in if that's okay.
Absolutely.
But that's actually one of the questions that I have when we look at diversity. So oftentimes when I talk to senior administrators and presidents, diversity and inclusion doesn't mean a lot without belonging. But can you talk a little bit about your feelings around that? And how does the Ohio State University, how do you make sure that students feel like they belong?
I think the university does a great job of helping students feel like they belong. And I think that starts by connecting them to one another, but also embracing the difference. There's just so many clubs and organizations for students to be involved in. And that's true on the regional campuses as much as it's true on the Columbus campus, where you have, 45 or 50,000 students on the Columbus campus, and then much smaller numbers on the regional campuses. In fact, the campus that I'm most familiar with is the Newark campus, and we were actually, and we still are, the most diverse campus of the Ohio State University. And again, I think you embrace that with offering lots of different opportunities for those students, and supporting every student regardless of skin color, nationality, or difference, supporting them in the way that they need to be supported.
So let's talk a little bit about you and your journey. As far as your path, who are the mentors that really helped shape you?
I love this question because I think that mentorship is something that has always been very near and dear to my heart. And I think I've always struggled a little bit with finding mentors. I remember in my days back in Chicago actually asking someone to be my mentor because I didn't feel like I had one. And it was another female working in enrollment management. And she became a bit of a mentor to me. And then I really point to two people in my life, and that is a former softball coach that I was connected with, who I learned a great deal from when I was an athletic coach. And then I would say one of my recent supervisors was an amazing mentor to me. Her name is Marianne Corrigan Davis, and she worked for many years in corporate America, and then she was my supervisor while at St. Joseph Academy. And I think what I learned from her is the value of autonomy. And sometimes I think in my career, I haven't known what I needed at the time. And she allowed me the space and flexibility to really grow as a professional. And we did great things while I was there. And so I believe that mentorship sometimes happens when you least expect it, and it doesn't always have to be It hasn't been for me. It hasn't been organized and whatnot. And in fact, the times that I've tried to be a mentor to someone else, if it's organized, it's just too rigid and it's uncomfortable. And sometimes it just happens. And so I think sometimes the mentors that I point to are those that probably have no idea the impact that they have left on me.
Well, and can you explain to the audience, when you look at the Newark campus and when you look at The Ohio State University, the main campus, so what's the role of each? You know what I mean? Like, how does Newark, where can they recruit? Do they have specialized programs? Are they looking for a certain type of student? Is it geo-based? Can you talk about those? And I would consider it a satellite campus. Is that fair to say?
Well, it's interesting, Brad, that as someone like myself that has worked for 8.5 years on a regional campus, there are two things that I have to ask you and the audience to think about. Is there isn't a main campus. We don't like to use the word main campus.
Okay.
We'd like to call the campuses by their location. So in the case here of Ohio State, you've got 6 campuses, really. I just happen to be most familiar with the Newark campus, but there's campuses in Lima, Mansfield, Marion, and also the College of Food and Agriculture up in Worcester. And then, of course, the Columbus campus. And so the Columbus campus serves, as kind of the flagship institution. They can recruit nationally, internationally, and of course in the state of Ohio, whereas the regional campuses can only recruit students from the state of Ohio. And so we have, and we're in open access, right? All the regional campuses are open access. So for students who are residing in the state of Ohio, if they apply directly to the Columbus campus, the flagship, right? The one that is, most people are very familiar with the Columbus campus. And if they apply directly here and they are attending an Ohio high school, certified Ohio high school, and if they are not admitted to the Columbus campus, they are guaranteed admission to a regional campus. So that is a great way to get your foot in the door at the university and do well. Then that student has to come to a regional campus. They're then required, if they want to pursue an education at The Ohio State University, they have to enroll, complete 30 credit hours at or above a 2.0 GPA, and then at that time, they can transition to the Columbus campus. And I want to also point out the word that I use there. I use the word transition, not transfer. The benefit of attending a regional campus of The Ohio State University is that they are always a Buckeye. It comes, obviously, that Buckeye ID that everybody has is considered a perk to many. You can use it on a regional campus. You can use it here in Columbus. You can put money and funds on it to purchase meals here or on a regional campus. You can swipe in and take, get books from all the campus libraries. And so there's just a great benefit, and there's no transfer of credits. You're part of the Ohio State system forever. No one can take that away from a student. It is a slam dunk guarantee. And like I like to tell folks is there are very few guarantees in the world today. But one of the guarantees I can make is if you are an Ohio resident, you can and will be a Buckeye if you apply for admission to The Ohio State University. And I think that's pretty cool. It's a wonderful institution, whether you're completing 4 years on a regional campus or if you decide to transition to the Columbus campus, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think I noticed that I think I saw your email. It might have been on the Newark website, but it was a Newark email, but it had Buckeyes connected to it. And I knew right away, oh, okay, everyone's a Buckeye, which I think is pretty cool.
Absolutely. From day one, we tell students they are a Buckeye. They just happen to be attending Ohio State University on a different campus. That's the only difference.
So, I know you have a large alumni base. How are you engaging alumni to help bring in future students?
I'll speak from the experience that I've had on a regional campus, and that's the experience, quite frankly, that I'm not only the most familiar with, but the most proud of, is that we have done, over the course of the most recent years, we've done a great job of reconnecting with students who start on our campus, oftentimes finish their degrees on the Columbus campus, and then go off and do wonderful things. And so we most recently produced a wonderful, what we call an outcomes piece, related to alumni and what they're doing now. And then they speak to the role that the regional campus filled for them and played in their life and in their educational career. And so engaging with them in that way has been extremely important. And it has just, it's very, very gratifying to sit down with an alumnus who you may or may not know, and to hear their stories has been it just takes your breath away, from the way that they speak about their experience at Ohio State University, the way they speak about our faculty and staff, the kind of attention they received, and the opportunities they were provided here is just outstanding. And it makes you pause. It has made me pause because I don't have that day-to-day interaction with students. And so when I have been able to and had the pleasure of sitting down with alumni, it has caused me to say, this is exactly why I feel like I have my dream job, is because of the experiences that the Ohio State University are providing young people.
Well, and so, most people know the name, the Ohio State University. There's a lot of competition out there, right? Athletically, academically, but there's a lot of institutions out there trying to bring in students. And so, I know there are a number of advantages, competitive advantages, but, if you were talking to a prospective student, why should he or she go to the Ohio State University?
The one thing that comes to my mind immediately is the word opportunity. And, you mentioned the name recognition. I think that is important, and I think it's sometimes overlooked by young people. But there's just so many opportunities for student, whether it's they need scholarship to enroll. The university is doing the best that we can in terms of making higher education affordable for students. Number two, just the wealth of opportunities that are here, whether it is for first-year students on a regional campus to do research with a faculty member, or that we have we call it the STEP program, second-year transformational experience program for students, where we're teaching them life skills during the STEP program as a college sophomore. And then for me, and maybe for you too, Brad, it's kind of a no-brainer experience and program, and yet students are not taking advantage of it. That STEP program, so we're teaching you life skills. You have a faculty or staff mentor that you meet with regularly, and if you simply just complete the program, the university awards you, I believe it's $2,000 to do something that you want to do. For instance, if you wanted to photograph all the national parks, we would give you $2,000 to go out and do that and pay for your travel. I don't have any other examples at the top of my head, but our students are doing as much like scientific research. When people say research, they often think, you put on the goggles and you work with lab rats, and that's not all research. I mean, research is so much more than that, and it can be so much more for students who really want to really enhance their resume. So the word opportunity comes to mind, and a way I think to just explore life and explore clubs, organizations, high impact educational programs, and the opportunity to get to know so many different people from around the world. We are drawing students from all sorts of places. And the experience to work and study with them and live with them and learn from them is amazing.
Well, and I know that the relationships that you have with businesses in the local community and beyond really help line up internships and jobs for, the many, many students. But can you talk a little bit about that, whether it be with your new work experience or the main campus? What does that look like for an incoming freshman? And I'll give you an example. So my son is a freshman in high school, so he's still got a little time, but he's already thinking about finance and he's thinking about computer science, but he's not quite sure exactly, well, so what type of job does that lead to? What can I do with that degree? So I guess, how do you make sure that whether it be freshmen or seniors, that they can take an internship, that they can be, confident that they'll have a job that they know, they understand, and they like?
Well, we support our students with career services. That's the first and probably logical way to answer the question, Brad. But then beyond that, I think about a program that was just launched on the regional campuses, and colleges and universities I think they have a choice when it comes to launching new programs. You can go with the hot topics. You can go with like AI and all those other things that you and I think of that are real hot in industry right now, or you can go out and you can talk to industry. And that's what we did. We have our own manufacturing institute here on the Columbus campus, and they went out and talked with industry folks around the state and said, what do you need from the next round of students, graduating in 4, 5, 10 years? And resounding, they said, we need students who are trained to be engineering technology professionals. Well, it took me a while to figure out what that really meant, but I can explain it to you really well. So an engineer has one job, right? We pretty much all know what an engineer does. And so what we did with this engineering technology program is, again, we listened to corporate America. We listened to our industry partners in Licking County, in Allen County, in Marion and Morrow County, in Richland County. And they said, we don't need more engineers. We need leaders of the engineers. We need someone who can understand what an engineer does and then implement it by leading teams and understanding business and understanding how corporations want to become more lean and more efficient. And that's what we did. And so that program launched. We'll graduate our first cohort of students in the spring, coming up here in May, on just a couple of the regional campuses. And so we're super excited about that. Some of those individuals already have jobs. Mm-hmm. They've already been out in the field. I can speak to one student from the Richland County and from the Mansfield campus. He had an internship as a part of the program, and he has a job waiting for him locally. And so I think we've done a really, really good job at those kind of things, and really staying involved in what's happening, near and dear and really close to home, kind of taking care of industry in Ohio first. And if you know anything about Ohio, Brad, you know that industry here is booming. The manufacturing industry is booming. Mm-hmm. My commute from Columbus out to the Newark campus, I go right through New Albany, and the number of companies that have come in there in the last, I've just been traveling that for 8.5 years, and my commute has dramatically changed. You have Meta out there now. You have an enormous amount of Amazon buildings out there, and they're building more. You have Intel, who's coming in. They're building right now, but they'll be open in 2025. Microsoft, there's just it's a real hotbed for manufacturing, and I certainly believe that our students in lots of different, we often think, oh, it's going to be only in manufacturing or only in engineering technology. That is not true, right? Because when these corporations open up, they need everybody. They need HR, they need business analysts, they are going to need everyone, and that's really exciting for Central Ohio.
So when when a prospective student is looking at you, who else are they looking at? I mean, who else do you compete with? Are they evaluating, do I go to college? Are they evaluating, do I go to this other institution? I mean, what are you competing against?
That is a great question because I think it depends on where the student is coming from, where their home is. But we compete, of course, in the state of Ohio with the other kind of flagship institutions or large institutions here, the Ohio University, Bowling Green State University. And we compete with what you said, Brad, which is sometimes very sad for me to hear is a student is questioning whether or not they should go to college. And my answer to every student would be yes. You need a degree now, and you're going to need it in the future. And I think it sets up students for success. And oftentimes we hear students are not going to college because they don't know what to do. They don't know what they should pursue. And my answer to that is don't put it off. You don't have to have all the answers. I know that my degree is not necessarily matched up with what I'm doing today, but it was just important that I got a degree and that I had that start and that I started to think about my future in that way. And there's plenty of people out there that, my degree is in health and physical education, and my master's degree is in developmental kinesiology, which is another way to say physical education, and the study of how the body moves. And yet the skills I learned and developed along the way through that has helped me land what I can still consider to be my dream job at the Ohio State University. And I think that's what we all want for every student that we meet, is for them to find a passion. And sometimes it's just a matter of challenging yourself to get started. And I always tell students, it's okay if you don't know what you're going to do in the future. You don't have to have that answer. But if you keep an open mind and you look for opportunities to engage with faculty and staff and ask questions and do things outside of your comfort zone, take those risks to learn and try something new. I'm confident that Ohio State will help guide them to their chosen career.
So how do you make sure that students don't get lost? And maybe it's even incoming freshmen, on campus residential students at such a large institution, the main institution, such a large institution. How do you, to your point, how do you make sure, especially freshmen that are brand new to this, how do you make sure that they are engaged, and they do engage with faculty and they do engage with others in activities? And not get in the shell and kind of go, oh, what is this? What's going on here?
Yeah, I think it's an uphill battle for a university of our size, just because of the sheer volume. I mean, we'll have a class, usually a first year class of about 8,000 students on the Columbus campus. So it can be a challenge, but there's a first year experience program and there's mentors that are a part of that. And so I think it's, it takes a village, right? It takes a village to assist 8,000 students. And I think that's how you do it. You put together programs and opportunities, and you look for ways to get those students, each student, engaged in your campus community. It's not always easy, but I think for the students who are watching this, I would encourage every single one of them to make sure when they go off to college, regardless of whether they're living close to home or not, to get engaged immediately on campus. Doesn't matter if you're a commuter student, that's fine. But don't just drive to campus and go to class and get back in your car and go back home, because you're missing out. You're missing out on opportunities to engage with like-minded folks, to find character building opportunities on a college campus, and to really engage, I think, in a different and unique way. And so, back to your question, I think it's a challenge for any large institution, but I think Ohio State does a really good job with the first year experience program that we have in place, and then also with the student mentors that are hired to assist students.
So what now are you doing campus tours, or are you meeting with prospective students and families?
I am not.
Okay. I was going to ask the question. Hey, this still could be a very applicable question, but you tell me. But I always often wonder with prospective students and families, what's the most common question they ask?
That's a great question. What is a common? I mean, I've met with plenty families, and I'm still engaged with events at Ohio State and Newark. I'm wondering what the common question is. Oftentimes, it's about paying for college. You know, and the regional campus experience at Ohio State is cheaper than the experience on the Columbus campus. We're about a third less. So there's an advantage there as well. Providing access to students in the state of Ohio is very important to the university. And keeping the university affordable is very important to the state of Ohio and to our residents. And so, you know, affordability has always been and will continue to be, I think, not only a hot topic and one of the questions that you get asked most often, but it's a hot topic just nationwide because our costs are not going down. You know, the cost of doing business is actually increasing for colleges and universities. And, you know, the building projects we have and just just to keep the lights on is getting more expensive. And so we continue to look for ways to add scholarship and other programs. You know, we have a new program called the Scarlet and Gray Advantage Program, which hopefully will allow more and more students each and every year moving forward to graduate college debt-free. And that's pretty amazing. And that is a real commitment made by university leadership to keep the cost down and to do the best we can for students.
Well, I think it must be so cool for you because you grew up in Ohio.
I did.
So, I mean, you know, as someone who's heading up enrollment and as someone who is, you know, can really share the story of, hey, I grew up, you can tell the story, you know, you can talk about growing up in Ohio and the advantages of going to Ohio State, whether it be Newark, whether it be the main campus. But I oftentimes feel like, obviously there's a lot of advantages, whether it be a program, whether it be talking to the alumni, job opportunities, faculty, but being able to really express that in great stories about, hey, I grew up here. Let me tell you about what's around town.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, I bleed scarlet and gray. I truly do. I have almost all my life. There's a part of me actually that regrets not enrolling at The Ohio State University, you know, back in the years where I was graduating high school. But I also pursued athletics, and I wasn't a Division I athlete. And so that, you know, that became my purpose and my goal. And I had a great experience where I attended. But it is very special for me to represent The Ohio State University. I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to be here. And I'm very, very passionate about the student experience and providing, you know, really telling the story. Not even providing opportunities, because the university does that. It's telling the story so that more and more families understand how the regional campuses kind of fit into the Ohio State story. And that's sometimes we haven't done a great job of telling that story. You know, there's still a misperception about the regional campuses in Ohio that we fight to overcome. And I think sometimes it's just an unknown. It's like this. We're hidden gems, and we're not hidden at all. Each campus is doing some wonderful things for students and with students, and we each have our success stories. And so it's finding ways to engage with students and parents, and to share those successes, to see if it might be a fit for them. And again, I'm just. I'll talk until I'm blue in the face. And I don't normally use the word blue either as an Ohio State employee.
Right.
A diehard Buckeye.
Right? Well, and the other thing too that I think is such a huge advantage are just the opportunities for students. So just, I mean, as an example, and you could speak to this a lot better than I could, but you know, if you're writing for the school paper, or if you're in the School of Journalism, or if you're doing physical therapy or athletic training, how cool is it to be able to be a student and I would imagine have access to the Ohio State teams, facilities, and get, I mean, talk about just the relationships, the stories, but then the ability to learn and be able to do it as a student, because it does change when you graduate.
Right. I know a student who was on the Newark campus. She was taking classes there, and she became involved. The Newark campus is only about a 45-minute drive to the Columbus campus. I should point that out. So she was there taking classes. She got involved in I'm going to say like some kind of a sports journalism club. And she was given access as a part of this club to the NCAA. The university hosted NCAA tournament basketball last year. And she was given locker room passes to go in and interview these athletes and coaches of the best programs in the nation. And so it's a real thing. I mean, Columbus is a hotbed for athletics in so many cases. And, you know, we have professional athletics here, and it is just, I think it's a great place for students who kind of want to think outside the box, and they want to pursue something unique and different. Whether they grew up in Ohio and grew up in a rural place, or if they grew up right here in Columbus, Ohio, it's going to be a different experience. And I would say the same thing is true of the regional campuses. When you go to a regional campus, I think sometimes students think I'm going to be going to a campus and I'm going to see everyone from my graduating class. That's not true, because each one of us draws statewide for our students. We have students enroll from all different parts of the state of Ohio.
So now, where do you see, as far as your role and as far as your goals and your strategic plan, what does that look like over the next 5 years? You know, what is your day-to-day? Hey, here's my top goal. Here's what I need to do.
Well, that's a great question. And, knowing that it's my fourth day in this new role as the director of regional campus recruitment, initiatives and strategies, Brad, I don't know that I can adequately answer that, other than to say I think the outcome of the work that we do will be an even better experience for students and more exposure for the regional campuses. More alignment with what we do kind of behind the scenes, but everything that we do is to enhance the experience for students. Make it easier for students to understand, from a perspective of, well, how do I do that? How do I start on a regional campus and finish my degree on the Columbus campus? Or could I finish my degree on a regional campus? We enroll all sorts of students, and some will come from parts of Ohio where they need to stay close to home. They have family commitments. They have, siblings to look over, or they're part of, I have a great example of a young professional who she needed to stay close to home to be, to actively work on the family farm. And now she's a leader in the Ohio Soybean Association, of all things. And so that's what our students are doing. And it's really cool to see all the different stories that we have and the success stories that we celebrate.
And now, are a majority of the students, are they traditional age students, or do you also have adults looking to complete their degree? Maybe they've left, they've gone into the job market, and they want to complete a degree or get a certificate?
We have both. I think that the vast majority here would be, the traditional age students. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the Columbus campus will enroll about 8,000 students each year as new first-year students.
And how many students does Ohio State, the main campus, have, roughly?
About 50,000.
50,000, okay.
Yep. So, then you add on top of that, then you've got the regional campuses, which include about another 5,000 students in total. and all pretty much the traditional age population. What I mean by that for students, sometimes you use these words and they don't understand that.
Yeah,
That
good
means
point.
they're coming right from high school, they graduated high school, and they're coming right off to college. And the majority of what you'll see on a regional campus will be those students. There are more adult learning programs here on the Columbus campus.
Okay. Now, did you get your master's degree right after your undergrad, or did you go into the professional working world and come back?
I worked for 1 year at Ashland University, another
Sure.
institution in the state of Ohio, and then actually back at my alma mater, Bluffton University, a GA position opened up, and so I was able to secure that, which paid my fees for the master's program, which was excellent, was very, very helpful.
Well, excellent. So, do you have any comments on the latest shifts and moves in the NFL?
Oh my goodness. No, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens, not only in the NFL, but, in NCAA football. I'm a big football fan, and I do not like what's going on with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate because, on my bucket list personally is to attend an Ohio State bowl game. But I don't want to do that and not see the Buckeyes that I watched all year long. That doesn't seem right to me. I won't pay that money, quite frankly. And so it's a little bit disheartening to see what's happened. And I think the NCAA has some real challenges ahead to kind of shore up that transfer portal. But it'll be exciting to see what happens, not only with NFL football, but with the NCAA as well.
Yeah. And when you look at Ohio State athletics, I mean, to your point, so much has changed in the environment of the student athlete and what that means in the transfer portal. But, one of the things that I often look at is, most student athletes are not going to go pro. And so how do you make sure that student athletes don't pick up transfer while at the same time giving up a strong education?
Well, I don't know that the university does that. I think that is probably more of a personal parental responsibility than it is the university. I mean, I think you can have connections, but young people are going to do what they believe to be the best, in for themselves and for their families. And sometimes we may not agree with their decisions. But we hope they do get their degree. And I know that has happened plenty of times where former athletes will come back and finish their degrees and they'll walk across that stage and be amazingly proud. And I think, I guess I would say, I was a athletic coach for 7 years and at a college, at a small college campus, NCAA Division III. And when I recruited athletes, I used to say, I do not want you to pick our institution because of softball, because I was a softball coach, or because of me. I want you to pick it because you see all the educational opportunities that we provide. And secondary to that is you want to play college softball under my direction. Because, like I said to them, you could fall off the curb tomorrow and sprain your ankle and be out. And then you might be miserable on that college campus. And I guess, for those that are thinking, oh, I'm just going to, go to college for a little bit and I'm going to go on to the, pros and play the sport that I love forever. That's great. If it all works out, wonderful. But a backup plan is not a bad idea either. And sometimes I think that I just think in the course of the last 20, 25 years, that's really changed in college athletics. I see that it's going more towards how much money can I make with the name and likeness that the NCAA has done. It's been a challenge for me. And again, I've been an athlete all my life and I've coached some, and now being a huge fan, we could probably talk for another hour about that, Brad.
Well, absolutely. And so I'll ask this question. I'm sure there's many. What's one of the most memorable moments that you had as either a coach or a player?
Well, in 2002, I led a softball team from Lake Forest College, north of Chicago, to the national title game, and we lost 2-1. And it was very memorable for a lot of reasons. Number one, just the sheer we were definitely the Cinderella. We were definitely the Cinderella, no doubt about it. And then we just kept finding ways to win. We defensively, or our pitcher would be excellent, or we'd hit some home runs. I mean, it was like we just kept beating these teams that we probably had no business beating. And we landed ourselves in the national title game. And so it was a thrill. It was transformational for me too, because at that time, internally, I was thinking, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I knew at that time during the national championship, I knew at that time that I needed and I would make a change. I just didn't know how quick. And so after that season, I took some time to think about it and then came back to see if we could do it one more time. And we came within one game of getting back to the College World Series. And I knew going into it, I had already told our athletic director that this was it. I wasn't going to coach the next year. And so I turned in my keys and I just said, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm going to take the summer to kind of explore. And I was even named National Coach of the Year. My coaching staff and I were named National Coach of the Year. And then I just kind of walked away and said, what do I want to do? And when positions became available in the admissions office at the same institution, I thought, this is too good to be true. I already knew the institution. I was a weird coach. I loved to recruit. I loved to make connections with student athletes. And so that's what I did. For the next 7 years, I was a member of the admissions team at Lake Forest College. And now I have my dream job.
Wow. I mean, how exciting is that? And I mean, there's so much that can be transferred over from athletics, to the real world, to, so many transferable pieces. But, I don't have to tell you this, but good for you to be able to figure out, hey, you know what? This has been a great journey, but you know what? I want to do something else.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I think that's why the poster that I talked about that I will bring from home and put on my wall, I think that's why it resonates with me, is because I did take a risk, and I've taken several risks in my life, whether they be personally or professionally, mostly professional. And I've done okay. I mean, it's scary. It is really scary to take risk. And so I transfer that to students and say, take a risk, put these institutions that you're unsure of, or take a risk to get to know someone who's seated next to you in class. Sign up for a new club or organization, go study abroad, do these things that really transform your experience and transform you. I have never met a student who has done a study abroad experience and not come back a completely different person. There's some real life-changing opportunities at institutions like Ohio State, and I hope that students will take advantage of it.
Well, excellent. Well, you have stories to tell. I think that is so cool to be able to translate that, and say, hey, here's what I did. And, it's very unique. So, Diane, Kanney, hey, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's been just an enjoyable conversation.
You're welcome, Brad. And I really appreciate the time and opportunity. And anytime I can represent the Ohio State University, I'm your person. So come to me, and I wish all the students who are watching this the best of luck.
Thanks so much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the College Admission TV Presidential Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll bring you another insightful conversation with a distinguished leader in higher education.